Hello everyone and welcome back. In the previous lecture we have discussed about the history of Microsoft Excel, what is it used for, and we have also discussed about the future of Excel in the professional world along with the intended audience and the syllabus we are going to cover in this course. Now, before we start working on this application, we need to get familiar with its interface, right? So let's talk about the topics we are going to discuss in this lecture. So the first one will be Excel Startup Interface. So here we are going to discuss about the features that we have in the startup interface of Microsoft Excel. And after discussing about the Excel Startup Interface, we will move on to the Introduction to Excel Interface. And here we are going to discuss about the interface that makes up the working environment inside of an Excel workbook. Alright, so without any further ado, let's get started. Now, the first thing we need to do before we get in and start to work within Microsoft Excel is we got to open up the application. This may be something you have done multiple times, and if not, here are the couple of ways in which you can open up the application itself. So right away, I have got a shortcut placed on my desktop. Now, you might just look at your desktop and say, well, I don't know where is Excel. Do I really have it on my system? Well, if we need to find Excel application in our system, we can directly go down into our Start menu and start typing on our keyboard Excel. It will search our computer and we can find the Excel application right there if it is already installed. Now let's get Excel up and running on our computer. So as I have the shortcut on my system right there, so to open it, we can either give it a double click or we can go and right click on the application. And the first option we are going to find here is Open. And after clicking Open, the computer will launch my current version of Microsoft Excel. Now, I want to encourage you to follow along with me as we go through these lectures. Because I believe that the best way to learn something new is to get your hands in there and start to work with it, right? So let's get Excel open and get familiar with the Excel startup interface. Now, when we first open up the most recent edition of Microsoft Excel, the starting interface is referred to as splash screen. Now, when I first opened Excel application, I was taken to the screen right here, where I have got some large icons on the left hand side known as the startup options. Next to the startup options, I have got the blank Excel workbook, and that's what we are going to work with. Just a blank standard Excel workbook, something that we can start to create on our own. Then on the right hand side, I've got some tutorials of some new features that were introduced in this current version of Excel. Then we have got some additional links down at the bottom. And finally, we have got some recent documents and templates that we can get into. To search for the templates, we can click on the option given here as More Templates. Now, this is the newer interface right here as I'm using Microsoft Office Home 2021 version. Now, when you first opened up Excel, your interface might look a little bit different just based on the version that you are working on. If you are on a Mac, it's going to look a little bit different beyond what you are seeing right here as well. But you don't need to worry about these little differences in our startup screen, because whatever we are going to apply here will work with almost all the versions of Excel. Now let's visualize all these options in the startup interface in the Excel application itself. So here we are inside the Excel application, and as we have discussed in the presentation, on the left hand side we have got some large icons called the startup options. Right next to the startup options we have got a blank Excel workbook. Then on the right hand side we have got some templates and tutorials. After that we have got some additional options down at the bottom, and finally here we have got some recent documents that we can get into. So here we are done with the Excel startup interface. And now we are going to introduce the interface that makes up the working environment inside of an Excel workbook. So if we are going into a blank Excel workbook, we are going to see something like this. So first of all, towards the top left corner of our screen, we have what's called the Quick Access Toolbar. It is a small customizable toolbar at the top of the Excel spreadsheet that contains a set of frequently used commands. Now, right below the Quick Access Toolbar, we have what's called the menu bar or the ribbon. It gives you access to different commands that are used for multiple tasks, such as opening and closing files, printing documents, formatting data, and other operations. Now, the next portion right below the ribbon, we have what's called the address bar. it shows the address of the active cell, and if you have selected more than one cell, then it will show the address of the first cell in the range. Now next to the address bar, we have what's called the formula bar. It shows the contents of the current cell and allows you to create and view formulas. Then right below the formula bar, we have what's called the column labels. These are the ones that we can see at the top of this spreadsheet, marked as A, B, C and so on. We can use column labels to address a cell or cells in combination with the row labels. Row labels can be seen right here marked with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, and they allow us to choose the most important column in the table. Row labels determine which columns are prominently displayed for that table, kind of like a title, alright? Now right next to the row labels, we have what's called the spreadsheet number. Traditionally, when we create Excel workbook, 3 sheets are created in the spreadsheet and automatically sheet 1 is selected by Excel for us. And since 2016 update, a spreadsheet is selected with only one name, that is sheet 1. And here we have the liberty to add as many sheets as we need by clicking on this plus sign right next to the sheet 1. Now after the spreadsheet number, we have what's called the right click property window. So it appears when you right click on an Excel worksheet. It is basically a pop-up menu with different commands related to the active cell. Along with this right click property window, we also have some quick format tools. It allows us to quickly apply some preset formatting on a dataset. Now at the bottom left of our workbook, we have a status bar. It reflects various details of status during the operation of the application. And finally, towards the bottom right, we can find the worksheet zoom option. The worksheet zoom feature in Excel changes the scale of a spreadsheet. When you want to see more or less of a spreadsheet, use the worksheet zoom to increase or decrease the magnification. So that's all about the Excel workbook interface. And now let's quickly visualize all these features in the application itself. So here we are inside the Excel application, and as we have discussed in the presentation, that towards the top left corner of our screen, we have what's called the quick access toolbar. Now below the quick access toolbar, we have what's called the menu bar or the ribbon. Now the next portion right below the ribbon is called the address bar, and next to the address bar, we have what's called the formula bar. Now right below the formula bar, we have column labels and the row labels. Now right below the row labels, we have what's called the spreadsheet number. Now at the bottom left of our workbook, we have what's called the status bar, and on the bottom right, we have the worksheet zoom option. Now if we are going to right click on the Excel workbook, we will have a right click property window with different commands related to the active cell. And along with this right click property window, we also have some quick format tools. So that's all about the introduction to Excel interface, and I really hope that all these features inside the Excel interface are clear to you. So thank you for watching this lecture and see you in the next one.